Welcome to the Between the Fur podcast, the show that allows professional mascot performers from the NBA and other pro sports to share their bizarre, funny and inspirational stories and give exclusive insight on what it's like behind the scenes and between the fur. Hosted by award-winning NBA mascot performer, Kenn Solomon.
All right, folks, buckle up because we have a great episode here on Between the Fur. We've got a legend in the house. He's the voice that electrifies Ball Arena, the man who turns every Nuggets bucket into a party. And the guy who's been hyping up Mile High basketball for 20 incredible seasons. Do I have that right?
It's the 20th season right
20th season right here. Woo! Please welcome the one and only Kyle Speller. This isn't just a Nuggets courtside announcer extraordinaire. He is he's a hoops junkie. Yep. Turned hometown hero. A former Nuggets rookie.
For 3 days.
A free agent who traded the court for the mic. And the first African-American PA announcer in Colorado's major pro sports history.
As confirmed by Irv Brown.
Irv. Oh, I love Irv. Oh, Irv. And did I mention? He's also the team's chaplain, a pastor, a middle school counselor, from dropping iconic at NBA All-Star games to inspiring kids off the court.
Thank you so much, Super Ken.
Hey.
Having me on. It's a special time, and just a great time to be able to reconnect with you, even just for a little bit.
I know you're a busy man, especially during the season here, and it's you've got a family. You're a pastor. You also have to prepare quite a bit, I'm sure, for counseling. You've got at a middle school counselor. Holy cow, what's that like?
That one is a labor of love, literally. I always said I never wanted to work with middle schoolers, but they got a hold of my heart, and here I am. So, that one is totally a labor of love. It's just seeing them daily on a daily basis, just have an opportunity to just make an impact. I've worked in the corporate world so much where I'm like, what am I, what is this for?
Spinning wheels.
Exactly, just for someone's bottom line. But this bottom line is totally different, and so it's special and it's fulfilling, it's draining, it's everything rolled into one. But it's just an honor to be able to prayerfully make an impact in their lives.
Wow. Well, and I know, that seems to be your route. That seems to be your calling, is making a difference and helping others. You also not only bring so much excitement and energy to a Nuggets game, but I've been on the other side of the wall when you're in chapel with those players pregame, and I gotta admit, I've put my ear up to the wall a little bit. I got close to the wall a little bit, and the message and you're there with players just before they're heading out on the court, which I gotta admit, I would have never thought that even happened.
Right.
Was a thing before I got into this, but yeah. And you've been doing that for how long now?
This is season 18.
Season 18 you took over, yeah. Well, what's that like?
That's powerful for me. So I see myself as a chaplain, not only for the players, but kind of for the entire arena, if you will. It's kind of like the arena is my pulpit or my church, for lack of a better term. And what I mean by that is just that I'm there to serve whoever. So it doesn't really matter if it's the players or the ushers or security or who the people, the guy or woman or man that's operating the elevator. Whatever moments, there's lots of those different types of moments where people need prayer for something, or just need to cry out for a moment, some of the media people, officials, whoever it is, to just be in position to be used by God in that moment. And so every time I walk in that arena, I just say, okay, Lord, cause me to sit down. You rise up, whatever you want to do. I just hope to be obedient enough to hear and respond accordingly, because the last thing I want to do is like be disobedient or just miss opportunities. I hate it when I miss opportunities to be a blessing or to speak in someone's life or give them a word of encouragement or different things like that. I just, it's just, I don't want to miss those. I feel like I'll be held accountable for missing those in the long term. And so, but in any case, with the players, it's a special, those are special moments, being able to just speak into their lives. They're people, humans, young men, just like the rest of us. And if you're thinking, where were you at that age of 20, whatever, where was your mind and everything else? I don't know about you. I was pretty messed up. And so, there was, different people that came into my life at that moment to kind of speak, into my life in that moment and kind of help me to redirect my path. And so just hoping to be able to plant whatever seeds I can plant and allow, and hopefully the Holy Spirit, and He'll do the rest of the watering and everything else. But I'm just trying to get my job done.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. There's a lot of times when, you've prayed with me and my family at the arena several times, and which I have appreciated so much. I mean, that has been a real blessing for us, and just in those moments, because there's times when there's, I was about to go and risk my life, or there was sickness, or there was some kind of trouble in our world where you volunteered to pray with us, made such a difference. And then the other thing is, I like how you said how you're opening yourself up to be a tool for God and His work. And I try and take some of those. I try and approach it this way: that hey, please help me to recognize those who you've put in my way, and then then help me recognize who who I've been placed in their path as well. For them to help me, and because
spot on.
Yeah, we're all here trying to.
The way my wife puts it, she says we are on an assignment.
Yeah,
we're on an assignment, and so I'm just trying to accomplish the tasks.
Well, and when I was in my 20s, I admitted this to a crowd the other day, that when I was in my 20s, it was all about me.
Hey.
It was all about me getting, what I wanted, and getting, getting to the place in life where I thought I had it all.
Right.
And it ended up to be really shallow thinking and fleeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I realized that, hey, over time and a lot of experiences, that I was given a real gift to be able to be in front of people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I developed as I went along was making sure that I was taking time in the crowd with individuals, not just getting everybody clapping, but taking that time to, reach out, shake a hand, hug a kid, and make one-on-one moments with people. And I that's where I found joy.
That's right.
I was telling somebody earlier that it wasn't out, of course, being in front of the crowd and pumping them all up and getting them on their feet and everything. That's a rush, and pulling off some stunt or skit.
Right.
But man, it was those one-on-ones that really were the joyful moments, not just the pack the punch exciting moments.
Right.
And I'm sure.
Yep. It's invaluable. And you were spot on. When you were just sharing right there, I had a thought of I used to do some acting, theater acting when I was younger as well, and I'd be in plays and different things like that. And I wasn't the lead role, but I'd be, whatever role I was in on the side. And I was always taught to, you act and you perform like you are the lead role, because someone's eyes may be on you, even though it's not the one that's significant. You're still performing or whatever for that other individual that may be paying attention, may not. And in those moments, you just never know whose life you're impacting or changing just by stopping and just giving them just a moment. And so, yeah, you're spot on there.
Let me ask you a couple questions here.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did you snag this job?
I talk to young people all the time. I get started doing this by doing something that was little and insignificant, and it had nothing to do with this at this point in time or whatever. For me, I was a rookie free agent in '99. I met a guy by the name of Tommy Shepard. I don't know if you remember Tommy Shepard.
Very well.
And so I met him at camp, and as they were releasing me, I also had the thought of being like the backup PA announcer for the team or whatever. And nothing ever panned out from that, but he did give me the name of a guy at that point in time whose name is Sean Martinez. And that's Austin's dad.
Yep.
He's with Phoenix now. And I would reach out to Sean, and I sent him that message, for a number of years. That if you ever have a need of a backup, and I never heard anything from him or anything along those lines. And then I am a Nuggets fan. I was a Nuggets fan at the time, and so I was always on the website, and I saw an ad that just said, grab your microphones. And so, backtracking a little bit before that, though, I went around the state of Colorado, and I played on a prison ministry basketball team through our church. And so we would go and we played against all the prisons. We had like a 21-game season. And so one of the things that I was doing in the prisons is before every game, we had, the little portable microphones, because at halftime of every game, we would, give a message and whatnot and do it like that. So I just decided, it was just something on my heart to kind of set the atmosphere inside the prisons before our games. Why don't I just do the player introductions? And so I just, before every game, I'm doing the player introductions before every single game. Some facilities, you can only say the person's last name, or you can only say the person's first name, or whatever. But I just did it, and that was just something that was on my heart to do. Kenny, Charles, and Shaq, they weren't there. What's her name? Andrews. No, there was no media there. ESPN wasn't there. TNT. It was just us and the inmates inside those facilities. Little did I know that was God's preparation for when the opportunity came.
No doubt.
I never did it before. I hadn't done it before at all. I was never a PA announcer. And the only thing and so when fast forwarding back to the open audition call, the Nuggets, if you were the Nuggets public address announcer, how would you do the player introductions? Well, I had been doing it in my head for years, and just did a little practice in the prisons. So I auditioned, I submitted it. I was working at that time at the Comcast Media Center, so I had access to a studio. 5 minutes is all it took to record it. And I had a guy there, and Jim Boardman, that helped me just put it on a CD, and I sent it in. And then I still have on my phone the message from Sean Martinez calling me saying, hey, we liked your stuff, and we want to bring you in. And he said that mine was the only one that they liked out of the thousands that they received. And they brought me in that year, and I went to Air Force Academy for the blue and white scrimmage down there. That was my first game, and then came here for it was Nuggets versus the New Orleans Hornets at the time, preseason home opener. And there was a reporter for the Rocky Mountain News. I don't know, you remember the Rocky Mountain News? Chris Thomason. And he came and sat down after the game next to myself and my boss at that time, which was Harlan Hendrickson. You remember Harlan?
Oh, yeah.
And he asked Harlan, he said, hey, is this the new PA guy? And Harlan said, yep, this is our guy. And that was how I found out I got the job.
You were meant for this. There's no doubt. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I love that story. And I love that you still have Sean's voicemail on there.
phone, yeah.
That is so great. And I'm always telling people, hey, if you want to do something, start doing it now.
Absolutely.
No matter what it is.
Absolutely.
And that is such a perfect example of that. And, and I like that. No, you were saying there's no ESPN there. There's nobody,
No.
but, and we all start somewhere.
Right.
So if you're going to do something, start doing it, no matter what it is.
Be faithful in the little things, because you never know when they become big things. And so.
Love that. How does preaching and being a pastor affect your announcing flair?
I think it just kind of helps with public speaking, the public speaking side of things. That's one. But where it really helps me is when, like, Nicola or Jamal, they get a layup and it's, way up high on the backboard. And so I'm able to say, Nicola up high off the glass. No.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Actually, that's from Coming to America.
What's your favorite tagline?
There's a few. I think the favorite one would probably be the very first one that I tried, which was 1, 2, and the crowd goes 3.
Yeah.
And call and response is the way I refer
Right.
to them as well. And there's a few more, that have come along the way.
Oh, my God.
But that was the very first one, and I'm a Denver Broncos
1,
fan.
2.
And the crowd goes, hey, yeah. And because I'm a Denver Broncos fan, and so I would always go to the Broncos games. Well, not always, but I've been to a number of them. And I think back when Alan Roach was the PA announcer, and I think he's the one that started, so-and-so passes, and the crowd went incomplete. And so from the times when I would go to that game, I said, hey, if I was ever the announcer for the Nuggets, I would want to do something like that for us, where it's that crowd interaction and call and response type of deal. And so that was the very first one, was just 1, 2, and it's lasted and stood the test of time.
One of my favorites is from the window.
Yes.
Yes. I love that one. And the whole crowd to the wall.
Yes. And I love trying things and then seeing if it sticks. And
Have you had a flop?
I was trying something last year with KCP, Kentavious Caldwell Pope. And there was some guys behind me, and they said, hey, you down with KCP? You down with OPP? You down with KCP? And then, yeah, you know me. Everybody says, yeah, it never caught on.
Oh,
so
that would have been a fun one.
Yeah, you down with KCP? And I would say it, and I would hear like a couple here and there. Yeah, you know me. And sometimes they'll create spider effects to help out, but it never caught on. And
Yeah.
I think if he'd have been here this year, I would have gotten it going by now. But nope, didn't happen. And so he's gone, and so is that one.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna lead you down another path here and see where this goes, because, all right, so in working with me, you probably hadn't worked with a mascot before, and it was a little bit of getting used to me getting used to you, and timing and things like that.
Yep.
I would have to a lot of times write something out for you to say. Other times it was coming to you going, hey, just ad lib this.
Yep.
Sometimes it was a combination. I know one thing you loved was when I would, like, last second have something scribbled out in Sharpie on a piece of paper and thrown on right in front of you as you're as supposed to say something. You loved that last minute
Just go
stuff.
with it. Just go with it. Now, for me, my experience with you was, from the start, was just comedy. You always made me laugh, and I just loved that. And there were so many times, if I'm having a bad day or whatever it was, or if I'm screwing up in the game or whatever, you do something and kind of get me up out of it. I'd just be watching you, the stuff that you're doing, whether you're screwing with somebody, and the stuff that you're doing is just like, how did he even think of that? Or where did that even come from? And I just love the way you messed with people, and just your comedic timing, all of that. I didn't see you as like I didn't see you as, when you were there. I just saw you as like a real living thing, or like a real living, just
Like Rocky was just alive.
yeah, big time. And it's like awkward seeing you with the head off, and they're like, no, that's not right. Put that back on, But and then I would see you outside of costume, and just kind of there's certain things that you would do, and I would see, oh, that's him right there, and it's different things like that. There's lots of things that I would just watch, and because I'm a visual person, and so, but some of my favorite stuff was just the stuff that happened, not the written stuff. It's just stuff that just happens, and that's my favorite stuff, period. Anyway, but it's just the organic things that just evolve when you would hit the backward shot and give it up for the super mascot, and I would just hold on to it.
That's where I'm going with this.
There's times when I'd be in the blue in my face. And so, but there were times when I would anticipate, oh, he's going to go long this time. And so I would get a good win, so I could hold on to that note as long as I could. But, there was lots of those.
And so for the people that don't know or hadn't been to a game or whatever, so when I'd hit that half-court shot, another one of your taglines was, let's give it up for super mascot. It would go, and because I would start winding up, or I'd do something kind of, I'd run around the court, because the finish to that was when I'd go up on the chair, throw my hands up, and that was the part. Rocky.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Rocky, but you would always kind of, it's just like a cute
ta-da,
and you just kind of lean to the side, and it was just, that was like a big hug. Like
yes.
that. And yep.
Man.
I love that. And then, of course, when you would hit it on the very first try, and I think you came up with the idea, okay, I'm going to walk out, and then right when I get to the end of the tunnel, then you.
yeah. Let me do the walk-off.
Yep.
Let me do the walk-off. And then, then you bring me back out with that, give it up for super mascot. And I'd go out, run around, and
and then sometimes you just go extra.
I just go extra,
my voice is cracking.
And I'm just cracking up in there going, man, I'm going to see how long I can stretch this. And then, just when I feel like your voice is just starting to give, I'd go and jump up on that chair.
Yep. Boom. And the guy that got the biggest kick out of that is always like Mike Fruitman, who's security, and he's always standing right in front of me, and he's just looking to see if I'm going to give.
Face turning blue.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I'd always come off of I'm like, I'm going to kill that cat.
Oh man, that was so fun. And then we do something, and it would. I loved it that you were sitting right there, and we'd pull something off, and man, I had to come over and just give you something.
Yep. Sure.
Boom. Just
Yep.
Yeah, that was just magic.
And it was just connection.
Another one was a nutcracker.
Oh yeah.
Man, you had perfect timing on that one. And the bit is at the end when I drop on that, do a little crotch drop on the beam, fall off.
Ladies and gentlemen, the nutcracker.
Oh, your timing on that was so perfect, and immediately because you fall, boom, everybody's like, and then fall off, and it's like nothing, and people are like, oh, catch you, and then just as soon as you said that, people would be like, I'll get it. Yeah, so good, so good.
The annual favorite.
Yeah, what was great is that we grew to, I think you would agree that we grew to, we didn't have to say too much beforehand. You got to where,
once I got the concept, I got the joke or whatever.
Because I know, some announcers, and I've talked to other mascots about this, where they're like, gosh, the guy doesn't stop talking, or I can't get him to say anything, or whatever. But you and I worked together so good. It was magic. I always felt that. Anyways, what's All-Star like?
All-Star was amazing. So I've done it. This was my 4th year doing it, but my first time on doing the actual game on the Sunday, or games on the Sunday.
Congratulations, man.
It was a blessing, and it was like drinking water from a fire hose. The way that all went. I mean, because like for us, for Nuggets games, our scripts are about 50 pages, in length or whatever. Or no, not even that many. We have like 27-page scripts.
Yeah.
For us, NBA All-Star, 152 pages was the script.
Oh.
And so, as soon as I got off the plane, my flight was late, leaving Denver, 5 hours late. So I got there and I went straight to the arena. And I didn't check into the hotel till 11 o'clock that night. Just rehearsals. We get through all of that every day. I got there on a Thursday. We rehearsed every single day up until the Sunday. And if you watched the game or got to tune in, there was just a lot that went on, and there was a lot that happened that wasn't a part of the plan. And so after the kind of the first however many minutes of the first game, the NBA, they were really trying to, make sure there was a lot of crowd interaction, all that. Ultimately, they just said, "We want you to commentate. We want you to, pick up your energy, pick it up." And so for me, I'm thinking, they want me to, maybe hold the calls a little longer, or, do. They were like, no. We want you to commentate. We want you to talk through the whole game. So if you've ever seen like videos of you talk about the mixtape tour, like the N1, and at the Rucker Park, there's the guy that's out there emceeing the whole thing and announcing. That was me. You couldn't really pick it up probably on television, but in the arena, I was sitting there like talking trash to all the players, trying to egg them on to play hard and all of that, and get the bigs, not shooting threes, but get down there in the paint and just it was, and it was fun, it was hilarious, but it was a lot. I bet
it's
done that
exhausting.
before. It totally was, and after the game was over, that was it.
Oh my gosh!
Just kind of crashed. It just stopped. But it was this big build, and then almost like cryptocurrency. It was this boom, 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 and then through the roof, and then it dropped just like crypto as well. But it was amazing to be able to be a part of it, and I hoped I'd accomplished what they were needing, but I think I was able to offer some of the flexibility and adaptability to be able to do what it was that they were wanting in that moment. And so, not sure how.
There's probably not too many that could pull that off.
Who knows? I don't know.
I mean,
but I just said, okay, I'm letting go. That was one of those moments where I just said a little prayer. Okay, Lord, go ahead, have your way. Let's go. And I just let go, and you just get out of your own way, and just trying to just have at it. And so it was fun. I had a blast, and it was just a blessing and an honor to do it.
And they haven't done that before, have they?
No, that was
the first time they.
Yeah, that was brand new. And so for the All-Star game, they've done that format for the Rising Stars game, which I had done the previous 2 seasons. I did the Rising Stars games. And so I knew how the format went, and then I could kind of flow with that. To me, it made it a little easier because you've got actually the All-Stars. With the Rising Stars, you don't necessarily know all of these players that are playing in this game. And you definitely have to reference. But with the All-Stars, I know who all those guys are. And so I didn't even have to reference my sheets, as far as and I could just talk through and mess around and have at it.
You have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Twins.
Twin sons.
Twin sons and a daughter.
Yep.
And what was it like raising them in this atmosphere? Because they're all older now, and
yes.
College. Are they? Has the twins graduated yet?
This spring and next winter. They kind of, one switched to football, and so in order to get one more season, he's going to finish up next December and do it like that. But the other one that's playing basketball, he graduates this spring.
Wow.
Which is one of my greatest memories with you as well, because you were a part of a lot of their birthdays, and even, my sons, they were COVID. They were class of 2020. And so you were there for that. And, that always blessed me. When I start thinking about that, I can feel my tear ducts, welling up. But, from the time when Christopher jumped out of the box on the court.
That's right. As the little elf.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, my
Different
gosh.
birthdays and different things like that. And yeah, like I said, in their graduation, when we were in the midst of COVID and the pandemic, and everyone was having those graduation parades in their neighborhood, and you came down the street blowing that train horn, and all the kids. It was a moment in the midst of the pandemic where it felt like normal, because like all the kids from the community just ran out of the house and came, and it was just like a little block party in the midst of that. And that was just such a blessing, and one of the greatest memories as well. And yeah, eternally grateful for you for that one. That's for sure.
Well, it was my pleasure. We had great opportunities, all along the way to, just do things that just would never happen.
Right.
Would
right.
just never happen in any other setting or whatever. Yeah, especially with around COVID times and all that. But man, we've done several, countless community appearances together.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I'll tell you another. So probably one of my greatest memories from doing this was a moment we were at. I don't know the name of the park. It's right there on I-25. I don't know what we were doing. It's like there's like a half-court basketball court that's there.
And it's kind of curved or
Yeah,
like
I don't know what the name of that park is. We were there. I don't know what we were doing there. Some kind of community event or something. And I introduced you, and a lady came up to me, and she's like so excited and all, and she said, my son had a speech impediment, and he couldn't pronounce certain letters, and he said he couldn't pronounce the letter R. And she's like, my son is pronouncing his R's. And she said, when you said, Rocky, that's where he started imitating me saying, and that's how he learned to pronounce his R's. And that just blew me. So you just don't know what kind of impact you're having in the lives of all these individuals just by being. And so that was one of my greatest memories, was at that park that day. And you remember there weren't a lot of people around or anything, but that lady and her son, and he learned how to pronounce his R's. He was using a speech, I forget the roles of those, the doctors that work with
speech therapists,
speech pathologists or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's working with one of those individuals, and he couldn't pronounce his R's until then. And
oh my gosh.
I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, I never heard that. Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh, you just never know.
Never know.
And in what way you're affecting people.
Absolutely. You can't write that one up, script it or anything along those lines.
What's one thing you could tell or you would tell your younger self?
Once I gave my life to the Lord, and that was June 29th, 1991, that's when I changed. Kyle on June 28th, 1991, you wouldn't have liked him at all. He definitely wouldn't be sitting here right now, that's for sure. But June 29th, 1991, that's when I changed. So I would have told my younger self to get there sooner, because that individual would have worked harder in the classroom. That individual would have opted to stay in the gym and work on his game as opposed to trying to get to the parties and mess with the girls and all of that stuff. That individual wouldn't have made a lot of choices that I wound up making at that younger age. So that would have been the priority for me.
What are your main messages to your kids?
Something I tell them every day is that there's greatness inside of them. I always assure them of that. I pray over them every day. Every time I talk to them, even my sons, if I call them or FaceTime or whatever, I pray over them and I tell them there's greatness inside of you, period. And so with that, kind of tongue in cheek, I would always tell them all, your girlfriend is Wilson and Spalding. That's your girlfriend's names. And my daughter, she was a volleyball player, so her boyfriend was Tachikar and Moten, and so there was those things. But the thing I also tell them now really is whatever you do in life, whatever choices. Just love the Lord. Love the Lord with all your heart.
Yeah.
And serve him and put him first. With whatever your decisions, just put him first. And, do whatever you're going to do for an audience of one.
Yeah. That was a lesson I learned way too late.
Yeah. Only thing we can do is tell them, like our pastor says, tell them what you told them and tell them again.
Yep.
But for me, I didn't have a father growing up, and so I get to do some things differently in their lives, and so I know they hear my voice, and I know my voice resonates in their minds, whether it's in the back or whatever. But I can just kind of see how they're going, and I'm so proud of them, and we were just blessed with 3 amazing children. They're not perfect, but they're great. They're great, and just love them, and they're special. Each of them, they're unique as well, and so looking forward to who they become.
Yeah, it is a fun process. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all stages. I was telling my son the other day, and he's got kids now. And he, being a grandfather is great.
Yep.
I wish I was around them more, but he was saying how great each stage has been so far. I'm like, yeah, your oldest is 4. You're just getting warmed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stretch out.
Yeah.
So when you about hung yourself.
Oh my gosh.
That experience. So from my vantage point, I couldn't see you. The lights were shining. And so.
And for part of it, wasn't I behind the?
And yeah, you're behind the Pepsi. It was Pepsi Center then, and behind the jumbotron ball, all that. So I couldn't see you. So on the video, you hear me going, yeah.
I know, right?
And it seems insensitive, but I never. And then when I finally did see you, you had revived, and the only thing I saw was you running off the court.
Oh my gosh.
That's the only thing I saw in that moment.
Because I've watched that several times, and you're just hyped up and everything.
I never saw you.
And I'm like, you know what? What a pro. That guy, he's just, you know what? He's just going with it, man. He's a pro. This is live entertainment. He's just doing his thing.
Yep, I never saw you.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that.
I could see you on the screen, and when you're, because the camera shot or whatever, and it's just initial. And so I just know you're coming down. In that moment, though, lights are, because there's spots coming my way, all that stuff.
Right.
I never saw, the only thing I saw was you running out. And so I never even knew it until like the news later on that night.
Oh my.
And then on headset, I think they were
that.
probably talking about, is he okay? Is he okay? And all of that stuff. And
but you're in your game. You're catching some of that, but you're still focused. Mm-hmm. You're a professional. Mm-hmm. You're going. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but yeah.
And I remember saying, "Hey, I can go back out. I'm good. I can do this." And
yeah, who knows what was going on back?
Oh my gosh, all this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Back behind there, and
I had no idea.
They're just like, "Yep, nope, you're not going back out.
Uh-huh.
We need a doctor to check you out."
Yeah.
And we did some fun stuff, and it was live entertainment, and things went sideways sometimes, and you had a great way of bringing it back or making it right, filling in the blank or whatever. And
I'll never forget though when you hit me with the cake. That was like the hardest hit. And I fell back in my chair. He went all the way in.
Yeah, that's right. What's that?
When was that?
I don't know what season that was.
Man, that was
I don't even
a
know.
while
Yep.
back. Yeah.
I think I knew it was coming, but I don't know.
I think you knew it was coming, so I
I
wanted
didn't know it was
I
coming
wanted
like
to I wanted to wake you up a little bit with that. Boom.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I got mine back.
Good
You
kick,
me-
though.
did-
Yep.
You know when Drake hit me in the stand. Yeah. Karma.
Yep. I remember that. I remember. I think cheering on the headset. Get him.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to tell you, I always appreciated your presence. And, you know, you always had a smile on your face and a warming, just a warming presence in the back hallways. It didn't matter whether, you know, people were seeing you or not. You were the same. And, you know, because a lot of people, you know, put on a show, but not you. You were always real. You were always gentle, humble, but yet a powerhouse when it came to your presence. And I always appreciated that. And I appreciated the seeing the guys come out of chapel. And it was just heartwarming. It was heartwarming to see that players actually are participating in that. And you know, and you could tell that some of them were affected and you know, grateful.
As you mentioned there, I just had a flashback when we all found out that Kobe Bryant had passed.
Yeah.
And I was on my way into chapel in that moment, and the guys came in, and I was like wondering what's going on. And that's where I found out, was in chapel. And that whole we didn't say a word, not one single word. And I just thought about that, but just being able to be together in that moment, you know, that was one that I'll never forget as well. And so, but yeah, it's just, for me, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful I get to be one of 30 people in the world that gets to do this. And so I don't ever want to take it for granted. And so I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. And it's, I'm just grateful.
Wow.
Just grateful.
Have you missed a game?
I always just try to make them. Even when we were in the bubble, I made all of our games. Even if I couldn't stay there for the entire game, I was still there.
Never missed a game.
And so, yeah, like I said, I'm so grateful. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And so,
Well, that's a lesson for us all, to really appreciate where we are and the good things. You know, we are blessed. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you. Love you,
brother.
Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha.